Hello, everybody. It's Francie. Welcome back to another episode of Heaven in Your Home. It is a gift to be here. Today, we are talking about foreplay. And what is it, and how have we maybe misunderstood it, and what is a bigger garden vision for foreplay? In the beginning, God created a male and a female, and He didn't make us mechanical and kind of in a black and white version. He made us in Technicolor with an incredible amount of sensation and capacity to experience pleasure, flavor, feeling, touch, taste, sight, sound, all five senses fully alive. God designed us to be playful, to enjoy each other, and to allow our sexual expression to be one of creativity and fun and playfulness. So we're going to debunk a few lies about what foreplay is and how we maybe have thought about it. Maybe you identify with some of these. And then I'm going to give you 5 ideas about what foreplay is. This is part 1 of a two-part series. The next episode, I'm going to chat with the husbands, because you have a special, very important role to play in the beauty and celebration of your wife's body and her sexuality. And you have an incredibly influential space to take up as someone who is designed to celebrate her beauty head to toe. I don't know that we talk about it enough, and I'm wondering maybe if you've ever heard a woman kind of give you a little clue as to what it might be like for you to really use your masculine strength in a way that could bless and allow your wife to flourish in a really fun, special way in foreplay. So anyway, we're going to get to both of those conversations. Before we go any further, let's pray. God, thank you so much for the gift of our bodies. Thank you that you made us sexual. That's not a shameful statement. That's not a weird idea. That is your design. And we worship you as our maker, as our creator. And I pray, God, that I would come into more and more freedom and alignment with what you said over me, that this is good. And I pray that for my friends, both male and female listeners, that you would know that what God designed when He designed you is very good. And I just pray, God, that we would see the goodness of your design, and that we would also see how your design helps us to flourish in life, in relationship to each other, in intimacy. And I pray this would be a celebratory conversation where you are pleased and honored and magnified, because that is why we exist, to bring you glory and to live as fully alive humans made in your image. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so foreplay. I got a question on Instagram about this. I'm going to start with that question, and then I'm going to give you some thoughts. This listener says, "Hey, Francie, I've been listening to your podcast for about 2 months and binging on all the episodes. I started with the first ones and worked my way up to the latest ones. You're such a blessing to listen to. Thank you. My perspective about marriage and sex has changed so much. I found you at the right time because I just had my first baby 5 months ago, and my husband and I are struggling with the new life that comes with that first baby." I totally get you. You are in a season of major transition. I'm so glad you reached out. So she continues to say, "Anyway, about foreplay, do you think it can only be done correctly in those long sex sessions and not the quick ones? What is your perspective on the need for foreplay?" So I hear a lot that's happening right there. I hear a young marriage. I hear a new baby. First of all, those two things are huge because it takes a long time to learn each other. And by the way, Wyatt and I will celebrate our 18th anniversary next month in just a few weeks. And we're still learning each other, and we're still learning ourselves, and we're still discovering freedom and healing and integration in our bodies made in the image of God. So just know there's so much grace if you are early in your journey. And if you're late, we are all continuing to learn, because the topic of sex and sexuality has been super messed up for a really long time, like thousands of years. So what you've inherited is kind of what we've all gotten, which is a lot of brokenness, but God is restoring. So I just wanted to speak first over you grace and peace right where you are. You're doing great. You've reached out. You have a longing to grow, a longing to find God in this, and you're already on the right track. Adding a new baby to that is a whole nother level of hard. You're facing sleep deprivation, hormone changes, all the transitions that come with your time management and how you and your husband relate. Your body has changed. Just another layer of grace. Take a deep breath. There's so much grace because you are in a huge season of transition. just know that you don't have to like jump up and get everything right. You can take one day at a time and lean into connection right where you are, whatever that looks like, and know that you have many seasons after this to continue to grow and learn what great sex looks like. But right where you are, just take a deep breath and know that what you need now is to be nourished and you need to be rested. And I think this foreplay episode is going to actually be water to your soul, because that is what great foreplay is. It's a space to be nourished. It's a space to rest sexually. It's a space to unwind in each other's arms. And we think about it usually in terms of revving up, but it's actually a place of relaxing into pleasure and resting into pleasure. And we'll get to that. But the last part of your question, you said, do you think it can be done correctly? That makes me giggle, because I always want to do things the right way. Like, just tell me the rule, tell me the right way. And oftentimes I think in church settings, we think, what are the rules? Let me follow the rules and I'll get it right. I want to get it done correctly. I don't want to color outside the lines. And I get that also. I definitely identify with a sense of wanting to honor God and do it the right way and do it the healthy way. But I just want you to know that long sex sessions are wonderful, and so are quickies. There is no wrong answer when you're choosing love and honor and leaning into each other. We have 6 kids. You might know that already. There have been many seasons where we have only had space for quickies because that is all life will require. And there was grace. It's kind of like you bring to God whatever you have, and he shows up and he meets you, whether you have 5 minutes or 5 hours. And obviously a long session is more rejuvenating to your body. It's more restful. It's more of this space to exhale and really go slowly. And that is a gift. But quickies are not a terrible thing, especially when you're in a season with young kids, and that's really all you can do. And so you do what you can do with what you have and where you are. And the priority is just continuing to lean into love and lean into honor and communicate about where you are and what would be refreshing and what would be pleasurable. So communication and grace, know that you're not alone. And I hope that this episode really helps you reframe foreplay and reframe the idea of your feminine beauty at every stage and every season, because it's a gift from God. It's not something that we plow through in a productive sense. It's a gift that we have in our receptive feminine nature. And one of the key pathways to that is rest. So I'm praying rest over you today, Mama. Just know that I get it. It is so exhausting. And I'm praying that in those little moments where you guys have to connect, that God multiplies it, because that has also been a reality for us, is that God's multiplied our connection when we've given him what we have, like our loaves and fish. We say, God, this is what we have. And he's the God who multiplies it. So inviting God in, following the rule of love and honor, and knowing that there's not a correct way, long or short sessions. It is the path is connection, and whatever it looks like for you in your season. But today we are going to talk about what is foreplay and how can we rethink it. I'm going to be sharing what Wyatt and I have been learning and growing in, because it's what I have to offer. I don't have the gifts or expertise of a counselor, because I am not a counselor. But I hope you know by now that you're here, you're listening to my journey, my reflections on God's design, on the goodness of God, on the healing of God. And if you're in a space where you need counseling, or what I'm going to say rubs you the wrong way, feel free to drop it and know this is not for me right now. Go get connected to a counselor or a friend or somewhere to process if you have pain, because just know that this is my offering. This is a part of what we've been learning and reframing this idea of foreplay. But take it for what it is for your season. But what we've been learning and growing is that foreplay is not like a warm up to the main event. It is a whole new way of enjoying each other, no matter where it leads. Foreplay for us has become a celebration of beauty, a space of rest, a time of going slow, and an invitation to really inhale and take each other in. And it has been very healing for us to take this idea of foreplay and remove the pressure and the idea that it's about doing a few things that get you ready for the main event, and more of a slow way of connecting that probably will lead to intercourse, but it may not. And it actually, when I take off the old lens of seeing it, which I'll explain to you in a minute, it is so much more attractive to me as a woman and so much more arousing, because it's less goal-oriented. So this is based on what we're discovering in our growth about God's design and our story. And again, if what I'm saying in this reframe doesn't connect with you, drop it. No big deal. But I hope to reframe foreplay less as preparation for penetration. Let's just drop that. And more as a beauty celebration. I'm going to say that again. This reframe is less preparation for penetration, and more a beauty celebration. That is the idea of what I think about when I am considering foreplay at this point in my journey. Somehow along the line, we've come to believe that sexual intercourse, the P and the V, is what intimacy is, and that the end goal is thrusting and ejaculation. That could not be further from the truth. That is not intimacy, and that really is not all there is to sex. Oftentimes, I think we get informed by culture, by media, by movies, that two bodies come together and there's a lot of fast action, and then there's a climax, and then they're done. That is not intimacy, and that is not a celebration of beauty. God designed us, hardwired our bodies to express and experience pleasure for a longer period of time. And the longer and the slower, oftentimes what I've found, the more pleasure. If we rush into it or if we go fast, it's fine. It's kind of like checking a box or servicing your partner. And really, quickies can be fine. They can be fun. They can serve the purpose, but I don't think that's what our whole marriage was to subsist on. And so to my friend who has a new baby, know that quickies are great, but there is also space for your body to be nourished and your soul to be nourished through body nourishment. It's kind of the idea of like, we go to a spa because we're like, I need rest, I need to chill out, I need to be nourished. So we'll put cucumbers on our eyes and we'll lay back in a bathrobe. I've actually never done that, but I would imagine that's kind of, we are accessing internal rest through physical care. And I think of that in the same way as foreplay. It is a space for my husband to be close to me, for me to access a deeper level of rest and relaxation that does actually produce way more pleasure than I could conjure up on my own. But the entry point is rest and relaxation and a sense of connecting to my feminine beauty. We're going to talk about foreplay, how it is an essential ingredient in building anticipation for sure, but it's also just the joy of connection and the fun of being lovers. Experts will say, if you look up online, WebMD or whatever, what is foreplay? It's the activity before intercourse. They say that because if you are receiving penetration before any foreplay, it's likely that you'll not get the pleasure you're designed for, and it could be painful because there's not enough blood flow to your genitals and there's not lubrication yet. And your brain needs time to get into that sexually receptive gear. And so foreplay, if you look at the textbooks, is what you do before you have sex in order to get your engines revving. But I think it can be so much more beautiful than that, so much more garden-like than that. And I've experienced that. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that today, that it can be something more nourishing, restful, bonding, playful, and healing even. That foreplay is about celebrating beauty. It's about giving a wife time and space and permission to get out of her head and into her body, to connect with the pleasure of her beauty and body. There might be less words and more sensations, feeling love in her body and feeling the celebration of her body. Those two things have been key for me in letting go and becoming more receptive, because by nature, my body is designed to be receptive, but my brain is in go mode all the time. It's do, get it done, get it done, get it done. And so foreplay helps to get out of the head and into the body to actually be in a more receptive space. Experts say that a woman needs anywhere from 10 to 21 minutes to warm up. I would say that would be, if you're going for more of this, hey, let's explore this idea, let's play around, let's see what's possible. I would say 10 to 20 minutes is a great starting place. It could go on for 30 minutes. It could go on for an hour. Think about like how long you would go get a massage. You would get a massage for an hour easily. They would do head to toe, and that's not an intimate setting. That's just somebody working with your muscles. But this is an intimate setting. So it's like triple the amount of possibility of discovery and of pleasure and of wonder with your special person, with your spouse. And so I'm just trying to put that in the frame of mind of like time could expand quite exponentially when you tune into this different way of going slow together and experiencing not just the end result of intercourse, but we'll call this space outer course. It's like all the buffet of delightfulness on the outside, all of the head to toe zones of pleasure that you can explore before you get to the inside. And it could go an hour. Really, there's no limits. You could go multiple hours. And I did talk about our hotel dates. That has been one of the secrets of our hotel dates. If you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to that, because that's been a really sacred space for us for nourishing our connection, that we don't just go and, oh, let's just do a quickie at a hotel, or let's just get it done quickly. Having that space, and I'm going to talk about this at the end, the key of margin, but having that space has helped us to know, oh, wow, we have time to explore this gift. We have time to learn it. It could be nap times. It could be in the morning before people wake up, but just a little window of time, 10 minutes could work, or it could go 30, or it could go an hour or more, whatever you have time for, just knowing that it's space to get out of your head and into your body, to get lost in the moment together, and I found that Wyatt has actually come alive as a man with his sexual strength in serving me in this way, seeing it as his joy to delight in my beauty and to communicate to me with words, but also with touch, how much he enjoys my beauty and what he sees when he sees me, and the sense of celebration that my soul feels because of how he cares for me with his sexual strength during this time of foreplay. And I have seen my heart as a woman come alive as I receive more and more pleasure from a state of receiving and relaxation and rest. I think a man was designed to not only notice a woman's beauty, and specifically his wife's beauty, but I think to celebrate her beauty with his whole self in gentle and in strong ways, in kind and arousing ways. And that is the space and the grace of foreplay in my mind. It's this space to be playful. It's a space to allow sexual desire to bubble up from the inside rather than trying to apply it from the outside, if you know what I mean. I think sometimes we think we have to switch gears, so let's just do a lot of fast touching to get aroused. And that's more like an outer application of stimulation to get to a certain destination. And I would say that could work, but a different way of seeing foreplay is allowing desire to take its time to bubble up from the inside out. And when that happens, a woman's capacity for pleasure becomes electric head to toe. It is this totally different way of seeing a woman's pleasure zone, from rubbing her clitoris really fast, if I can just say that straightforward, to allowing a woman to feel pleasure all over her body, specifically not touching her genitals for a long period of time, so that her whole body can experience the beauty and pleasure that God designed it to feel and experience. It's less about preparation for intercourse and more about knowing there's so much territory to explore and celebrate with outer course or foreplay. It's less a race to the main event and more a whole new way of enjoying each other. No matter where it leads, it's not goal-oriented. It's a celebration of beauty and rest and connection. So God's brilliant design, this is where I want to start with the big idea, is that we were made for deep connection. We were made to come alive so sexually through relaxation and trust and through a sense of being naked and unashamed, right? Well, I think that is the sweetness of this space of foreplay is a space where we can go slow together and enjoy and explore head to toe without a sense of performance or pressure. It's a space to just be together playfully. Isn't it amazing to be a woman, though? Let's just chat about that for a minute. We have, as a woman, brilliantly designed, if we just look at the design of God, 10,000 plus nerve endings on our clitoris, which we said that doesn't necessarily need to be the starting place in foreplay, but that shows you are made for massive amounts of pleasure. A man has way less than half of that in his penis. So just so you know, you are made for double plus the amount of pleasure. You have countless head-to-toe erogenous zones. You're capable of multiple types of orgasms, multiple orgasms in and of themselves, where they can keep going and going and going. Pleasure is our inheritance as women. God designed us as beings, as bodies, biologically capable of giant amounts of pleasure. It's a gift from God. It's our inheritance as a woman who by design has incredible beauty, and that beauty and that pleasure capacity deserves and requires time. A woman requires time to access all of that pleasure. It's not a switch that can be flipped, nor should it be, because if it is just that, she's not going to reach the capacity that she has been made for. It requires treasuring and pleasuring over time. I feel like that is a good definition for foreplay. It's treasuring and pleasuring over a period of time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, for maximum pleasure to arise from within a wife, not just to try to turn it on really quick to get it done, but to allow her to kind of overflow, like a sense of her cup is overflowing with desire and pleasure, to the point where she might even be able to name, I want this, I'm craving this, because it's actually coming from within her. I think many times as women, I'll just say this, I don't know that we give ourselves time to receive, and we don't have the context for that receiving. And so we may not ever notice as many sensations as God has equipped us to experience. By nature, women are sexually receptive. Think about the shape of our bodies. We are receptive, and men are sexually active. Think about the shape of their bodies, a strong erection that points outward versus a soft vulva that is inward and receiving. This is biology. It doesn't mean that men can't receive and that women can't pursue at all. Don't misquote me. Don't mishear me. I'm not saying it's categorizes and characterizes. I'm just saying it means biologically our bodies are giving us hints and details that are helpful for maximum pleasure and enjoyment. A woman is made to be receptive. That means, and what does foreplay look like in that setting? It means that by nature, you are made to receive to the point that pleasure overflows. We spend our days giving and doing and helping and driving and problem solving and fixing, which is all of that kind of masculine part of living. It's like doing and problem solving and making things happen. But the feminine side of our existence was designed to receive. And that is the gift of being in a marriage and being sexual, as you get to tap into that space of, this is not my place to fix. This is not my place to serve or to do or to service. It's actually biologically, I see on my body, I'm made to receive. Can I sit back and just receive? Can I make space in that arena for me to actually receive pleasure? What does that look like for me? I think it looks like knowing that that is a gift and believing that is a gift and deciding in my mind to consciously stop giving and stop doing mentally, close the tabs and decide to receive, to let go. And is this something that I get to do that is a gift for me? And that helps Wyatt when I say I'm ready to receive, and I get into a posture physically and mentally of I'm open and I want to receive and I want to go slow. And usually it helps me to take a few deep breaths, and it helps me to set a good environment, a good atmosphere, turn up the heat a little bit so I don't feel cold, light a candle, whatever it looks like. But just knowing, switching gears, this idea of going from a mom who gives to a wife who gets to receive is a gift from God. And this is a big part of foreplay, knowing that it's not just another thing that I need to do. This is space for me to receive. If I'm looking at the design of God, I also see that a masculine design is designed to serve with sexual strength, that men are designed to give pleasure to their wives, to treasure them, to pleasure them, to cherish them head to toe, to study their wives, to learn what makes them glow, and to celebrate their beauty. I'm going to talk about this in the next episode when I'm going to speak right to the brothers, and I'm going to give you a little pep talk and encouragement for who you're designed to be in your holy masculinity. But the celebration is both directions. I focus as a wife on receiving because it's not the normal narrative that we've been given in our culture. But it is very clear that this is our design. But there's also times where I give, and I love to give to my husband. But I just want you to know I'm setting this up in a specific way because the narrative mostly has made women continually the givers all the time and the doers and the taking care of everybody. But foreplay is a space for you to receive, to be treasured, to be pleasured, and to be celebrated. Okay, I'm going to give you a few ideas of what it is not. Foreplay is not about goal-oriented stimulation to rev your engine. I'm going to say that again. Foreplay is not about goal-oriented stimulation to rev your sexual engine. By that, I mean, it's not about rubbing you in your genitals really hard so that you're ready for sex. That, unfortunately, seems to be what a lot of old sex resources, secular and non-secular, secular and Christian, have kind of insinuated on some level, is that, oh, if you just touch like this, they'll be ready to go. I want to say it's not goal-oriented, but beauty-oriented. It's not performance-oriented, but pleasure-oriented. It's not to achieve, but to be together in that moment. And I'll just say that I had no idea until I started thinking about this and talking about this with Wyatt, how performance-oriented I am and was, and how hard it was for me to sit back and receive without a sense of, well, what do I do next? Or what does he want? Or what would be good next? But just to turn my brain off, because so much of our sexual energy really comes from our brain space. And can my brain just say, it is good to receive. It is good to be a woman. It is good to just lay back. It's good to be open. It's good to be loved. So the big picture, I will say 5 things about what foreplay is, and then I'll close with a few practicals. These are, you can take notes if you're taking notes or just remember them generally, but foreplay is core play. Nancy Houston has written several amazing books on sex. She's a sex therapist, and she told me that recently. She said, Francie, foreplay is core play. It is the central part of connection. It's not getting ready for the main event. It is a celebration of your intimacy and your playfulness and your oneness and exploring each other's bodies and enjoying each other's bodies and receiving and giving. Foreplay is core play. And then I added all day because I like to keep the big picture in mind. It's not about getting caught up in the rules or the weeds of the situation, like we have to do it here or this time or for this long. It is included in and based on the core elements of feeling connected all the time, feeling connected and not used. That is one of the biggest things, is that foreplay is about feeling connected, not used. That means that it is not an end to a means, but a delightful gift to enjoy. It's not based around goal-oriented ideas of sex. It's not about quick stimulation of your clitoris to get aroused, to get entry. It's a sense of physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental connection and pleasure that grows over time through the daily stuff of loving well. So that is the foundation of foreplay, is that it's about having that core connection all day. And if you're not having emotional connection or you don't feel like you guys are on the same page, it's going to be hard to experience this beauty and this gift, which is why we get to work on our marriage from an integrated way. You know, we're not just, oh, it's all about sex and that fixes everything. We need to invite the Lord's wisdom on how to integrate our whole marriage so that we can enjoy connection and intimacy inside the bedroom and outside the bedroom, because it really is all connected. So big picture, foreplay is core play all day. Number 2, foreplay is different for everybody. For me, I'm learning to tell Wyatt the things that I would enjoy. And I'm still trying to figure out how to articulate that. And it changes month to month or week to week. And sometimes I really like something and I say, oh, remember that because I want more of that. And he has a little list in his phone of things Francie likes. And, you know, it's not explicit, but it's just to remind him because he's studying me to get to know me and to love me well. And I think that that's a really precious way that he does that. He's being a student of me in the bedroom, in the kitchen, flirting by the stove, little moments throughout the day. He's noticing kind of what makes me giggle, what tickles, where I like to be kissed on my neck, what's relaxing for me, what feels good to me, what helps me switch gears, where I like to start, where I want to end. He's noticing that, and it's different for everybody, and it's different for him and for me on different days. And so we get to talk about where we are and what would feel good and what would be great. Foreplay can happen in multiple locations. It doesn't have to be in the 5 minutes before you get to the main event or whatever our way of thinking about it is. It can start in the early evening, and it can be over dinner, and it can be in the shower, and it can be in front of the fireplace, and then it can be in the bed. It could be an extended time of pleasuring and treasuring each other, and it can happen in multiple locations. So just know that it's different from everybody, and it can be a really broad experience. Foreplay is a space to help your wife or for yourself to get out of your head and into your body. This might be the biggest key takeaway. Think it's out of your head and into your body. It's about giving you time and space to switch gears, to become receptive to all the pleasure and joy that you're capable of receiving in your body. Women often live in their heads a lot, meeting all of the needs, doing. This is your chance to switch gears, get out of your head and into your body. We also know during foreplay and that flirtatious activity that blood flow to your genitals does increase, which creates more desire and more sensation. Your pleasure zones in your brain light up. The worry and anxiety part of your brain shuts down. When you kiss, you release serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good hormones, and oxytocin, the cuddle hormone. Those hormones start flowing and it lowers your stress level. Vaginal lubrication begins. So those are the science behind foreplay, all the fun things that are happening, all God's design, all God's gift, all worth spending time on that flirtatious foreplay so that you can really enjoy the full bodily experience of anticipating more and more connection and intimacy. Foreplay, number 4, is playful. It doesn't need to be serious or intense or formal. It's about nourishing and treasuring and pleasuring every part of her emotionally and physically, and every part of him emotionally and physically, about flirting, about playing, about seeing each other with fresh eyes, knowing that you are made to behold each other and to be present to each other. It's about communicating with your hands and your eyes that you guys are worth each other's time, and that you are a treasure, and that you are a gift, and that they are the definition of desire for you. And so speaking that with your presence and with your body and with your time and with your touch, that is the gift of foreplay, and it can be very playful. The fifth thing about foreplay that I want to include that must be said is that foreplay requires margin. Our friend at the beginning basically was saying, I've got no margin, and I get that. I also know from experience of having 6 kids and several special needs and several chronic illnesses that margin can be found when you look for it. And it might not be the thing that used to work for you, but it might be that you get creative. It might be that grandma takes the baby for a walk for an hour and then you guys get that space. Or it might be that after a kid goes down, or it might be during your lunch hour, or just knowing that there is space if we prioritize it, that we are good at filling our calendars with all the things we need to do, all the appointments, all the doctor's visits, all the kids' activities. And what if we filled our calendar with a little FP or whatever abbreviation, knowing that this is space for foreplay. This is space to really wind down together, to set the tone, to light the candles, to take a deep breath and soak in love together. Margin is just a huge part of what we've lost in our culture of dizziness and distraction and constant activity, scheduling our calendars to the max. But by definition, margin is that white space around the writing on a page. And our marriage needs that. And our sexuality needs that, because our pleasure potential comes out into more of an open space when there's margin. When there's not margin, I think our bodies know that, and they stay a little bit clenched. They stay a little bit wound tight because there's not a safe place for them to come out. And so margin is a huge part of having wonderful expressions of sexuality in your marriage, and knowing that that is worth fighting for in every season. Just a few practical ideas of where to start setting the tone for your environment. Be relaxing, and maybe warm air candles. A long shower is a good place to start. A full body massage with oil. You can use different tools. If you have not listened to my episode on sex toys, you can check that out, because that gives you some ideas. Maybe like a feather or fabric to create different sensations. These are just some ideas of where to start so that you can be playful and flirty and enjoy exploring each other, knowing that this is a gift for your marriage. Foreplay is not warm up to the main event. The main event is knowing and being known. The main event is receiving and giving. The main event is naked and unashamed together, knowing that you are designed to explore one another with love and with fun and with pleasure, and that brings glory to God in a marriage, because it builds your bond. It unifies your hearts, it refreshes your minds, it renews your bodies, and it brings joy to your sexual connection, because our sexual connection is so much more than one activity that ends in a final orgasm. It is the way we relate to each other with our whole bodies, with our whole selves. So I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation today. Join me next week for a little bit deeper dive for the husbands. Wives, you're welcome to listen too, but it's just some encouragement for their holy masculine strength, knowing that it is often difficult to know how to navigate those waters. And as a sister, I'm just really excited and honored to be able to speak life into that and over you. So God, thank you for our friends here. Thank you for the marriages listening. I just pray blessing and fruitfulness over their foreplay, over their playful time together, over their anticipation of being together and unified in love. And I just pray for more creativity. I pray for more margin ideas. I pray, God, that we would celebrate the good gifts of pleasure and wonder and discovery that you have given us in the gift of being sexual people made in your image, and specifically in the holy gift of marriage. And I just pray that this would be a conversation starter that would lead to much fruitfulness and much love and much unity. In Jesus' name, amen.